My general reflection of COP28 was most satisfying is first, the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund, and also the host for the Santiago Network. I would like to acknowledge the project, the PACCCIL project, through Oxfam in the Pacific, and also the Solomon Islands government for allocating us a party badge where we were able to sit in these negotiating rooms to support them, but also to lead in some of the thematic areas that are a priority to the people of Solomon Islands. And also what was really most satisfying for me was having to witness a civil society in the country to lead in a specific area of genders on behalf of the Solomon Islands government.
My takeaway from this year's COP is that despite expectations that only 7,000 people would attend this year's conference in Dubai, more than 100,000 people from all over the world attended, demonstrating their commitment and passion for climate change in very different ways. Hearing about their experiences and the challenges they face helps me realize how important each and every person there was as a delegate, negotiator, or a climate activist. It also forces me to seriously consider my obligations as a human being and what I can do to help the world reach its 1.5 degrees Celsius target. What really stood out for me was the attendees' passion, enthusiasm, and ambition. The positivity and buzz were obvious, especially in the first week. A large number of investors were also present, promoting their initiatives and project plans on how and why they believe their products can benefit the world in various ways to help reduce global emissions to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The presidency's opening speech indicated determination to make history as the COP that changed the game and to keep the North Star of 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach. Whether this will really happen, it depends on what happens after COP28. So otherwise, being a Vanuatu delegate and having to sit with government officials in the negotiation spaces, particularly at COP28, is something that we climate action networks are very proud of. To be given that opportunity and that trust to be able to defend our grounds as one nation and region on the issue of climate change.
My reflection for what was most satisfying for this year's COP28 is the agreement for the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund and identification of a host for the Secretariat of the Santiago Network for Loss and Damage. These key achievements were also key positions of Solomon Islands and other Pacific civil societies. However, more work needs to be done to ensure that in terms of the Loss and Damage Fund, these funds go down to people and communities who actually need funding for resilience. Secondly, one of the things that was satisfying about COP28 is actually taking part in the negotiations as the gender lead for Solomon Islands. It was the first time for the Solomon Islands government to follow and engage in discussions around gender and climate change. And to have a civil society representative taking the lead in that thematic area shows the strong collaboration and relationship between civil societies and the government, and it shows the trust that the government have for civil societies to actually take up the role in following gender in the negotiations. Reflecting upon COP28, gender and climate change, although we have some wins in terms of the loss and damage, but gender and climate change is one of the loss for COP28. Small island states have fought really hard regarding the text for gender and climate change in relation to climate finance for gender responsive action in community level, and parties, especially small island countries, have fought really hard to make sure that key asks are captured and reflected in the final decision text. However, there were a lot of pushbacks from developed countries, and some parts of the text were unable to be compromised. And so moving forward, going into COP29, this is an area that needs to be strengthened, and that needs more work to be done to make sure that our key ask